Okay, welcome everyone, and welcome to, I guess, it's officially episode number 43 in year 2 of our officiating Zoomcast. We're very appreciative of everyone joining us tonight, and look forward to spending the next hour with you on some hopefully some very good discussion and stuff like that. Just as a reminder, our audience tonight, if you do have a question, you can use the Q&A function. I will try to monitor those questions throughout the course of the evening, and we'll try to get to them as many as we possibly can tonight. Although obviously we have a lot of material that we do want to cover. And want to again welcome everyone back to season 2 of the Officiating Zoomcast. My panelists tonight, real quickly introduction. Scott Paluch is a ADM regional manager for USA Hockey since 2009, since the ADM's inception. Prior to that, he spent 7 seasons as the head coach at Bowling Green State University. And before that was an assistant coach at Boston College for 8 seasons, where I think they made 4 Frozen Four appearances and had a pretty good run there. To cap it all off, as a former player, Scott was an All-American defenseman at Bowling Green in 1987-88. And at that time, I don't know if it still exists, but he was the all-time points leader defenseman for Bowling Green. And I would imagine there's been a few puck handling defensemen that may have come on along since then, but certainly a very good career, both on the ice and off the ice. And our other panelists tonight, I'd like to welcome Doug Plocki. Began his coaching career at the youth levels in 1992, and is currently with the Washington Little Caps organization, a youth organization in the DC area. He's coached there since 2009 and has currently been the executive director of the Washington Little Caps since 2015. He's a level 5 coach who's been involved with the USA Hockey player development camps for many seasons and involved at all levels there. And also is the hockey operations director at Ion International Training Center in Leesburg, Virginia. So Scott and Doug, thanks for joining us tonight. We very much appreciate taking time from your busy schedule to join us and hopefully have some very positive discussion in regards to the USA Hockey rule changes this year.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Okay, so as we start out here, for those that joined us last season, you know that we start every Zoomcast with a quick poll, just to get a little bit of a feel for our audience and understand where they're coming from and what their knowledge is. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll. There's 5 questions. Once you get a chance to answer each one of those 5 questions down at the end, you can press submit, and then we'll show the results real quick and get moving along with the rest of the evening's presentation. So we'll give you a minute or two to go ahead on completing the poll. Okay, so let's take a real quick look at the results here. Basically, question number 1, how familiar are you with the rule changes that have been adopted by USA Hockey starting with this season? Once again, we've proven to have a very knowledgeable audience. 67% say they've thoroughly reviewed the rules and are looking forward to a little bit more information and more insight with our panelists tonight. 27% they had a chance to glance at it, but haven't really gone into any details yet. And 6% this is the first time that they're seeing anything on the new rules. Question number 2, have you been involved as an official player, coach, or parent for any games this season? Played under the new rules? 57% yes, 43% no. And if yes, what has been the general feeling of the games pertaining to the new rules? 3% have said they have not been accepted at all. 35% accepted, but not particularly happy with them. 19% fully accepted. The game ran smoothly, and 42% have not been involved, so they haven't had that experience yet. And number 4, in your opinion, what is going to be the hardest adjustment for players? Immediate offsides, 31%, no icing, 6%, the face-off after location after a penalty, 2%, and the recklessly endangers versus the injury, 8%, and an overwhelming majority of 53% feel that the acceptable body checking is going to be the hardest adjustment for the players? Question number 5, in your opinion, what is going to be the hardest adjustment for officials? 15% immediate offsides. And again, 18% to recklessly endangers versus the injury, and 55% overwhelmingly to be able to properly, consistently enforce the acceptable body checking. And the final question, by what time of the year would you expect players and officials to be fully adopted to the changes? 10% within the first week or two, 42% by Thanksgiving, 34% by the new year, 11% will take the entire season, and just 3% think it'll take 2 or 3 seasons to get there. So again, thank you very much for that feedback. It is important to us and gives us a little bit of a feeling of what our membership and what our audience is looking for. So we appreciate taking a couple minutes and completing that for us. Wouldn't necessarily say any real big surprises there, Scott. I think, I'm going to just throw the first question out at you is, some of the feedback that we've received, obviously has been extremely negative. There's some people that definitely didn't like some of the changes, and obviously I think the offsides and the body checking language, even though the body checking isn't really a new rule, it's just cleaning up some language in terms of the enforcement of it. But a lot of people have come back and said, hey, it's ruining my career, or it's ruining my kid's career. He's no longer going to be able to play high school or junior or NCAA hockey because they're not playing real hockey now as midgets and stuff like that. I guess my first question is to you, Scott, is with your background, what are your thoughts on that concern? And do you ever remember as a college coach / recruiter not looking at a kid and not considering a kid because of the rules they were playing under?
No, obviously, the rules of the game didn't come in as far as the player evaluation map. But what does come into from player evaluation is obviously, today's game is heavy on the skills of the game, and then certainly more than ever heavy on the decision making and awareness in our game. I think the players today at the highest level are so smart and so quick with their decisions. And I think these rules, especially when you're talking the offsides and the icing, are putting players, not just the puck carrier, but more importantly, the players away from the puck in more opportunities to have to make decisions, and more making decisions on quicker under duress, and having players away from the puck in more supporting roles. And I think both of them, whether you're icing the puck or not being able to ice the puck, PK, you're looking for the other 3 players to find themselves in a position of support and to be able to work the puck into a safe area. And if the puck does go over the line, then a whistle does happen, like it happens in every other aspect of the game. But specifically with the offsides, which I think has been, in my mind, when you really look at what has to happen with the other players on the ice, I love that number one, the players in the zone, when the puck does come over the blue line, all the players now have to be back into back pressure mode quicker. There's no safety valve now having time to have the puck hammered back in. They have to be in a position, number one, to pursue the puck back pressure quickly, or get into an area of support for the players who are retrieving the puck. And then if the idea is to then soft chip or get the puck back in the zone, you just have to earn your ice and earn your play to get to that point. You can still play that style, but I love what it's doing for the players away from the puck, along with the players with the puck having to make decisions. Yep. Matt, you're on mute there, Matt.
There we go. Yeah, Doug, one of the other things that we're hearing, or one of the excuses, is that because of the new rules and so forth, my kid's going to quit because he's not going to have fun anymore. As a level 5 coach, 25 years of coaching experience, a hockey director, everything else. Have you ever known a kid to quit because of a rule change? And I guess the second part of that question is, what exactly is it that that a hockey club's trying to do to create that fun atmosphere and environment for that kid.
Yeah, no, the kids want to have fun, right? And as long as they're competing, they're going to be having fun. So if your practices are designed around, elements of competition, and as Pooch said there, the kids are being forced to make decisions, they're being challenged, they're going to have fun, and that's what they want. My experience, I've never heard a player say I'm quitting because of a rule change. I've never even heard parents say that they were quitting. There's certainly griping, mostly from parents and coaches for sure, but I don't see it rising to the level of I'm leaving the game because you've changed the rules. I think particularly when it comes to the players, they can adapt and they just want to play the game. So whatever the rules are, they don't care. They just want to get out and play and get better. And it's our job as coaches to then design practices that will teach them those rules and teach them how to play within those rules, but make sure they're having as much fun, because that's when they're getting better.
Okay, thanks, guys. We're going to get into the nitty gritty here. I'm going to actually share my screen and go into a little presentation that that will go through that kind of sort of outlines the main concepts, the main rules, and we'll have some discussion as we go through. Just a real quick history on the rule change process, and I know many of you are probably aware of this. I know many of you probably really don't have an idea in terms of what that process is. But when USA Hockey goes into the rule change process every 4 years now, the fall before that rule change, in this case it was 2020, we accepted proposals. We had our website. We sent out notices to all of our directors, affiliate people, all of our volunteers, and basically accepted over 250 different proposals from all of our membership that was interested in submitting. In November, the Playing Rules Committee reviewed all those proposals. We made a preliminary recommendations, and those were all posted on usahockey.com and distributed to all of our volunteers and all of our key people sometime in early December. In January, the board of directors gets their first kick at the can, and they can look at making some amendments or changing some things. And anything that changes out of that board of directors meeting in January, again, gets posted on usahockey.com for our full membership to see. In May, we received feedback from all of the various councils, the sections, the committees, youth council, adults, the officials, coaches section, disabled section, pretty much every other committee that's part of USA Hockey are able to provide their feedback and their recommendations on each one of those proposals, or certainly on the key proposals. The board or the Playing Rules Committee then again met in June prior to the annual Congress, and based on the feedback that we received from everyone else, the Playing Rules Committee, which consists of 20 members that are administrators, they're volunteers, they're longtime coaches, they're officials, they're players. Basically, I think we figured out there's over 750 years of hockey experience that's part of that group. But they'll take all that feedback and go through each proposal again and make a final recommendation to the board of directors that then ultimately adopt their proposal on June 12th, 2021. And it's our board of directors that have the final say in terms of anything that gets adopted. Our points of emphasis, again, everyone should be familiar with this. They're pretty common, and they've been around for a few years now. So I won't necessarily go through that, but just wanted to remind everyone in terms of what the points of emphasis are. And then obviously, most of you are aware, in June of 2019, the board of directors adopted the Declaration of Player Safety, Fair Play, and Respect, which really started the focus on the competitive contact, the physical part of the play, the physical part of the game, including body checking. At that time, in 2019, there weren't any changes to the rules. And quite frankly, there aren't any changes necessarily to the rules now. All we've really done is added some language into the rules and into the competitive contact categories, and into under the roughing rule with body checking. that are related to what we did with the declaration of player safety, and really kind of sort of clarified and cleaned up what are some of the expectations of a legal body check. So with that, I want to bring our panelists back in real quick. You know, and I'll start, I guess, with you, Scott. We're entering the third season now of the declaration. It's gone pretty well, I think, for the most part. But I guess from your perspective and being out in the field and seeing what's been going on and talking to people and talking to clubs, how much progress have we made in changing the culture of the physical play that you're seeing in the field, and how has the game changed in terms of the way it's played? You're on mute, Scott.
Sorry about that. Matt and Doug and for everybody. I think one thing that I've noticed now, and I think even prior to the actual declaration, man, I think, and this is a credit to a lot of the leaders in the field. I think there's been an emphasis and an understanding the importance of the puck the last 4 or 5, 6 years in our game. I think people are starting to figure out the importance of the puck and possession of the puck, and then allowing the players to make plays with the puck. And I think a lot of what has gone into trying to figure out what rules fit today's game. I think a lot of it has to do with the way the game has changed really all over the world. The emphasis on puck possession, the emphasis on making plays, and most importantly, in what you're talking about, Matt, the emphasis of the actual physical contact and the actual compete of the play being made around the puck in an effort to win the puck. I want the puck, and all good players want the puck. They want to win the puck and be able to make a play with it. I think that continuation of being strong at the area of contact with an emphasis of separation and gaining the puck, and then combining that with the awareness and decision making to make the proper play with it. And then, of course, obviously, then you have the players away from the puck supporting that are a big piece of that as well. So I really believe that the last number of years, and again, even prior, before the declaration went in, there has been a pretty good understanding, the emphasis of the importance of the puck in today's game.
Yeah, Doug, what are your observations from a club level?
I mean, I think, 3 years in, we've gotten generally to a point where we've got awareness across the spectrum. Parents, players, coaches are aware that these changes are out there, aware that this is the direction the game is heading. So I think we've kind of reached that level, in these first 3 years. I think what you're also seeing is the better coaches, and this kind of will mute, what Scott said, the better coaches, have moved past awareness and into understanding that, the game is, like Scott said, possession, it's all about the puck, and it's fast. It's about speed, right? When we talk to the coaches at the players at the level our players are trying to get to, they want speed, game speed, physical speed, right? So if you're going to spend 2 to 3 seconds, to the old finish a hit, for example, that's 2 to 3 seconds you're behind the play that's going the other way right now, right? You can't afford that. You're going to spend your entire shift chasing the play, and better coaches understand that. Hit the brakes and get back into play. Reload that play through the middle. Don't waste your time on something that is going to take away from your overall team speed. So I think that's where I'm kind of seeing, as a general matter, that most people are aware of what we're doing, and our better coaches understand that these rules are designed to make the game fast, and they can take advantage of that.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to keep on moving here. Okay, real quickly, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but obviously when the declaration first went out, one of the biggest concerns everyone had was that we were taking the fun out of the game because we weren't allowing kids to bang their boards against the stick or bang their stick against the boards on the bench. So language was specifically added to Rule 601 B5 that covers that. Basically, it specifies that when it's done for the purpose of unsportsmanlike conduct, to celebrate a body check, and is done as a means of escalating dangerous and or unnecessary physical play. That is the spirit of the intent of that. Player blocks a shot and the team wants to celebrate, have at it. Goalie makes a great save or a great pass, have at it. But let's just not celebrate blowing someone's head up and possibly hurt them. And that's what the focus is there. For our officials that are out there, just want to reinforce too that there were some significant updates and additions made to subsection C, D, and E, and specifically C and D, which deal with misconduct and game misconduct actions under Rule 601, abuse of officials. So want to make sure that everyone understands that that wasn't forgotten as part of this rule change process, so to speak. And we've also then, of course, implemented the president's directive as it relates to hateful, discriminatory language into the match penalty category. Okay, so let's get to the two player development ones that are seems to have created the most unrest. The first one is eliminating the exception that allows a shorthanded team to ice the puck at all youth levels except for high school. And then also calling for immediate offsides at those same levels. Scott, I'll start with you. From a player development standpoint, why were the changes made to the icing and offside rule at the older youth age levels? And what impact ultimately will it have on the long-term player development?
Yeah, I think, Matt, the obviously a continuation of younger ages, just moving up all through youth hockey. And I think clearly what we saw with the younger players, and when we see it with our national camps that we have in the summer playing under these rules, again, all to get more players heads up and more aware of what's happening on the ice. And I think when you see a player retrieving a loose puck on the PK, and instead of just the immediate stick up and clear, but you see a heads up and scan for what's going on, I think that's a win. But then more importantly, as I was saying earlier, what we're seeing is the other players, the other three players on the ice, getting themselves into areas that will help progress the puck up the ice, and whether over the line or in a lot of cases, we're seeing players take advantage of open ice and some power play players not necessarily adapting quickly. And we're seeing more shorthanded chances. Players soft chipping into areas. But I think when you start the combination of the player on puck with more of a heads up and scan the ice, and then the other players scanning and supporting, I think is tremendous for our decision-making for now to move it up all through youth hockey. So that's why the rule is in play to enforce more creativity and awareness from our players.
Okay, and Doug, at the club level, you've mentioned that you're a couple weeks into your season so far. What's been the feedback that you've gotten, and will it really affect or change how you do business as a club?
Well, I think it has, a pretty positive impact on what we're doing as a club, because we want to be about development. We want to develop our players and make them better. So in the penalty kill situation, the icing situation, and as we mentioned, sort of before we came online here, Scotty and I had kind of an epic debate about this when they made the change at the Bantam level, and I was dead set against it, and Scotty was trying to convince me of all the reasons why, eloquently done, and I just refused to believe him. A couple of weeks later, I was watching a game and saw a situation that changed my mind completely, right? And it was a penalty kill situation, a player on the half wall, one possession, the defending team, but he was under immediate pressure. He's got to do something. What normally happens in that situation, glassing out, right? And the four killers go for a change. This kid hesitated. The guy that was at the net front saw some space in the corner, activated over there, talking to his teammate. That guy moved it down. The guy that was on the weak side, the other defenseman, saw that play happening, activated through the middle of the ice. His buddy hits him. He's got a full head of steam going out. He's able to gain the red, dump it in, and they go for the change. So it's the same net result as what would have happened had the kid just gone glassing out when he won possession of the puck. But it was that result after 3 kids had an opportunity to make a hockey play. So I had to track down Scotty and admit that I was wrong, and that it was a positive rule for development. And that's exactly the message we're able to deliver to our parents and our players. So it makes a lot of sense from that point of view. And the other changes, the changes with respect to the hitting rules, are going to make the game safer, which is of course a positive thing when you're talking to parents and trying to encourage kids to play and remain in the game. And you're teaching them the kind of game that they're going to play, or be expected to play at a high level, a lot of decisions and a lot of speed. So I think it's a positive thing for us.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Yep.
part of that discussion, Matt, and with Doug, so it was always interesting when, obviously history plays a part and the rule has changed over the years at the highest level with the icing on the PK, but to commit an infraction and then be allowed to change the actual playing rule of a game, that in and of itself is an interesting talking point in this. Why if you've committed an infraction that you're able to then now do something that you're not normally able to do within the rules of the game. So that also adds into this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's actually a nice little segue to our next couple of slides here too. And it deals with the face-off location after a penalty. And obviously, I know the NHL went to this several years ago. And a lot of what they do is they're trying to create more scoring, right? I think at our youth level, yeah, sure, we love goals, but we also have some goalkeeper parents out there that want to have some success and everything too. So I think we really look at these types of things more so as number one, establishing consistency with the other governing bodies and makes it a little bit cleaner from a rule standpoint. But it also becomes a little bit of hopefully a penalty deterrent. So we do have the rule change where the face-off after a penalty is assessed that places time on the penalty clock, and the team's going to go shorthanded. That the face-off will end up in their defending zone, unless the stoppage of play was caused by the non-offending team. And what I mean by that is that they created an offsides or an icing or something of that nature during that delayed penalty. We're not going to give them the advantage then of having a tax zone face-off. And then another just real quick general concept is to, in an effort to reduce or to discourage penalties, the 5 penalty per player rule has been reduced to 4, and the 15 team penalty has been reduced to 12. So then we've also incorporated a standardized discipline policy for match penalties that provides recommendations for affiliates and our discipline committees to be able to do some things as it relates to match penalties and maybe take a little bit of a burden off of their shoulders as it relates to conducting hearings and those types of things. With that being said, what are your guys' thoughts on the face-off location in the 4 and 12? Any significant impact, or are those some of the things that might actually be pretty well received?
Well, Matt and Doug, I know specifically on the face-off location, I don't know, probably not smart enough to really get to the raw numbers of cause and effect of whether the offensive zone face-off is going to deter penalties, but certainly as a coach, whether it's at the college level, that face-off location is a big deal. And it's clearly now, I mean, watching games and it was always face-off and it was outside the zone, and it was never quite as punitive. And now that face-off being inside, and you have a percentage-wise a better opportunity for retrieval and possession in the offensive zone without having to go entry. It's a big deal, and I love the rule. I think it's a good continuation piece for trying to add more reward on the offensive side for an infraction when it's called. So, Doug, your thoughts? I think it's a great continuation.
Yeah, I think it's certainly. I don't know. I'd love to see the data on power play scoring, in a year or two after, we have this rule in place to see if it's making that impact. I think you could also argue that, the team that is now going to be on offense in the attacking zone, they win a draw and they're set into their power play. From the development point of view, they haven't had to win possession and then gain an entry and get set up. So, maybe there's less development there, but it's certainly giving them an opportunity to play offense. And if the purpose of the rule change is to act as an additional deterrent to penalties, then I think it'll certainly have that effect. As for the 4 and 12 rule, I can say definitively early on in the season, it's having a major impact, in which is more kids are getting suspended because they're just, we're in an adjustment period now where it's difficult for everyone to really know what's going to get called, what's not. Consistency is always a challenge for everyone involved in these things. And, in discussions with some of the referees we've dealt with, varying views on what constitutes a legal hit. So the kids are getting frustrated at times, and most penalties at our level are emotional. They're not thinking, right? So deterrent isn't going to be as effective at the younger levels because they're not thinking the process through. They're reacting or acting out on an emotional level on some level. So we've seen a couple kids already go out to the 4 and 12. We've seen a couple coaches have a seat already. But I think ultimately it will have a deterrent effect. The coaches are going to have to get their kids under control. They're going to have to get their benches calmed down when the motions start to roil over there. And it's going to be, again, on the coaches to not only conduct themselves, but to conduct their teams in a way that stays away from that 12 penalty limit. So anytime you put that limit in place, I think, the players will ultimately have to adjust to it. And you'll see that eventually. From our point of view, we're not seeing it yet.
Hey, Doug, I love the point on going back, and sorry to backtrack a bit, but with the potentially not having as many zone entries or the ability to have to gain the offensive line, I think it's a really neat discussion point. The flip side of that now is with the offensive zone face-off. I think it'll help again create, I think, a tremendous need for our players and our coaches on understanding the importance of the face-off mentality, the line of scrimmage mentality. Now the consequence of the offensive zone face-off or defensive zone, whether you're killing the penalty, is more magnified because of the location of the face-off. And I would love to have more of our young players really understand the importance of a face-off and the possession that's going to ensue one way or the other. I think too many times, and especially in the neutral zone, there's a lot of players that take time off. And I think even in some cases, coaches may not even consider the importance of it. But possession's important. And I think when you move that face-off into the offensive zone, you have a better opportunity to create the understanding of that line of scrimmage. I need possession mentality, offensively or defensively.
And you're creating another potential role for a kid that can win draws. He might not be a power play guy, right? But a guy that can, win 65% of his draws, like he becomes absolutely critical on your team, and he's going to be out there for those, those defensive zone draws on the kill, creating another opportunity for a kid to develop a role on the team. I think there's going to be some definite benefits there. And I couldn't agree with you more on the acute awareness of the face-offs. At the higher levels, it's a huge strategy point. They spend tons of time on it. At our level, it often is an afterthought. How much time do our coaches in practice spend with their centers working on draws or with units working on deception, and how are we going to line up? So now you're going to have to, again, it's a rule change that will, I think the best coaches will recognize immediately. This is something we have to work on, and it's something that's important for our players to work on, and their players will get better as a result. So I think you'll see positive results coming from that for sure.
That's great. Some excellent discussion there, guys, and very much appreciate that. We're going to move into the player safety side of things a little bit. First one, just kind of sort of a general concept is all major penalties now will carry an automatic game misconduct. And part of the premise behind that is the Playing Rules Committee and the Board of Directors felt that if a player was going to commit an action that was that severe that a 1-game suspension would be warranted, especially if some of those things happen later in the game or in the third period and stuff. And it also allows us to be consistent then with all the various rules in terms of the penalty options. The other thing I just want to bring up real quickly is basically the IHF did this 4 years ago, and it was very well received. They've taken any reference to injury, and we've taken any reference to injury out of the process of assessing a penalty. We had situations in the past where a defenseman actually makes a pretty good play. They try to make a good play with stick on puck. They end up tripping the opponent. The opponent goes, the forward goes sliding into the boards head first and gets injured. That minor penalty for tripping had to become a major penalty the way it was defined into the rules, and that just wasn't right. At the same time, you'd have someone that would be careless and reckless in terms of delivering some sort of a hit, a cross check, or anything else. And as part of that process, it's certainly worthy of a more severe type of penalty. But because the player wasn't hurt, the official was only assessing a minor penalty. So we really took any reference to injury out of it. We've now used the term recklessly endangers or reckless endangerment. And that's defined as engaging in conduct without regard to the consequences, which creates a substantial risk of serious physical injury to an opponent. So what we really want now is we want the major and match penalties judged on the severity of the action and not whether there was an injury that resulted or not. And I think it actually does give the officials a little bit more leeway to judge the actual event and what happens versus determining what the outcome was and whether an injury occurred or not, whether the kid was faking it. We've all seen the situation where the kid goes down. He lays on the ice like he or she is practically dead for about 2 minutes, and 35 seconds into the 5-minute power play, they're back out on the ice, quarterback in the power play. So that kind of sort of takes that out of it as well. Any thoughts, Scott and Doug, on that concept from a coaching perspective?
Doug, I don't know if you want to tackle this first, as you've been through this.
Well, I like the portion of the rule that is take the injury out of it. If we're focused on the behavior itself, then whether the player gets injured is irrelevant to the discussion. It's the action itself. And it does, I think it helps the referee focus on the specific point of contact and what led to it, as opposed to did he actually get hurt, and all the gamesmanship that Matt mentioned that can come into play there. The automatic game misconduct, I don't know if that one, I think in most cases it's going to be fine. And again, you're trying to deter specific types of behavior. But there are those borderline calls, and I wonder if that one doesn't put referees in a situation where they don't have any leeway, or they feel like I'm choosing between 2 of 10, 5 in a game, or this kid's going to get suspended multiple games, and the referees that have some discretion maybe have more tools at their disposal. And I know I'm counteracting my own argument there, but I just wonder, I think taking the injury stuff out does make sense to me, but taking all leeway out, and feel free to disagree with me, but referees having a little discretion, I think can be a good thing.
I think the real feel I've had on this, Doug, clearly has to do more with what you just said, is it has to be the action and not the subsequent consequence. I think and Matt did a great job of explaining why that's in play, but it is the actions of the player that have to be subject to penalty, and not just because somebody does get injured or doesn't get injured. And I think especially in our game, and as we move up in the pace and the skill and what these players are capable of doing now, they're the distance, speed in general, and a speed and collision can create some uncomfortable situations that we're clearly trying to put in play avenues to protect the players as much as possible within our game. But as you know, it's going to happen. I think penalizing for the sake of somebody, one person may get injured, one person may come out of a totally different. That's obviously the action has to be what's being measured.
Okay, thank you. And that's some great discussion. And Doug, it's a very valid point. And I know one of the discussions that took place with the rules committee is by having that automatic game misconduct, are we tying the officials' hands a little bit and making it a little bit more difficult for them to call that major penalty, and whether there is some advantage to having that standalone major option. And then on the flip side of that, they come back and say, well, then, if the official is looking for an excuse not to suspend a player that's worthy, then they're just going to assess the major and not attach the game misconduct. So it's an interesting thing. I think the beauty of it is we will be able to track some data over the course of the next couple of seasons through our game reporting system, and just see what kind of an impact there may be or has been, and whether it has been a deterrent to some of the more severe actions as well. So it's going to be interesting to follow that one over the course of the next couple of seasons. Okay, moving along. Again, and this is more or less for the officials, but as part of the declaration and as part of the language that we've utilized in the body checking world, so to speak, it really kind of sort of created the need to have 3 different levels of involvement with the puck. And not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I think that the bottom line is previously we just had possession of the puck and we had possession and control. We used the same word in 2 different definitions, which I know created a lot of confusion with some of the coaches and stuff like that. So we've broken it down into 3 areas. Contact is essentially the puck just gets touched. It's a puck touch. It deflects off, those types of things. Possession is placing your stick on the puck and you're in an effort to try to establish control. And it's important to recognize that a player that has possession or is trying to establish possession is not eligible to be body checked. And at the same time, control the puck is a skater or goalkeeper that clearly has possession and is guiding the puck in a desired direction. And where that really comes into play is that that skater who is considered to be in control of the puck is then eligible to be body checked and or engaged in competitive contact. So this is a little bit more on the officiating side. It really does not change any other aspect of the rules other than some language that officials use in terms of determining when a player is going to be eligible to be body checked and those types of things. So getting into some of the body checking. The first one we'll just touch on is 640B. A player is released, a shot or pass is no longer considered to be in control of the puck. They are considered to be vulnerable, defenseless, and is no longer eligible to be body checked. So with that being said, we have a couple of video examples for you here. And I'm going to ask Doug to walk us through this first one here. Hopefully it'll play. We'll play it a couple of times. But you're going to see play coming back down this side. Okay, your Doug, thoughts on this in terms of why this is an illegal hit?
Sure, I think you've got a couple issues there. First of all, the player that was in control of the puck, the attacking forward there, is engaged with the defenseman. The defenseman does a good job of shutting the gap down, keeping his position. They engage in contact. So that player is already tangled up with that defenseman. So I think that puts him in a vulnerable position. Second, the forward that lays the hit can see this all happening, right? He sees what's coming here. He leads with his shoulder. His stick is in the air. No attempt to play, the puck at all. This was, under my understanding of the rules, this is an attempt to, to punish, or lay a hit just for the hit's sake, which I think is what we're trying to move out of the game with these rule changes. So, the stick position, the no attempt to play, make a play on the puck, and then, hitting a guy that's wrapped up with another player and is defenseless there. I think that's what the main things that stick out for me.
Okay, excellent. Okay, next, 640D. And this is one that I think is causing the most consternation for many. And I think this is ultimately the one that's probably going to create the most inconsistency in terms of the enforcement side of things. But 640D, a minor penalty shall be assessed to any player who delivers a body check with no effort to gain possession of the puck, and the blade of the player's stick is above the knees. So we have a video example here, and I think the beauty of this one is, Scotty, I think you're actually the head coach of Team USA here at the Youth Olympics. So you had the opportunity to coach your team through the penalty kill on this. So maybe you want to walk us through this one.
Yeah, it's a good example. And Tyler Duke is the defending player who's going to get a penalty on this. And Tyler's a terrific young player who, ironically, if you notice right there, and there's where the penalty is going to be caused as the stick and hands came up, obviously well over the knees. But when you watch this play from the beginning, you'll notice Tyler, who's probably as good as anyone in his age group, would stick on puck. And he has a great ability to use his feet and his hands. Like you see right there, and then the stick is now right where it should be. And then now comes up at the last minute and creates contact in a high vulnerable spot, that time to the Swiss player's head, as you'll see here, the contact. But if Tyler's stick remains on the ice and through the hands, and he finishes and rubs that off with the same amount of force, it's going to Tyler's going to land up with the puck right there, had the puck the same way as if the hands would not have come up there. But you start to see what Tyler does so well is stick on puck. But at the end, just at the last minute, the hands come up into an area where it's going to be called a penalty most times. If that continues on the ice through the hands, and there's the puck laying for him, it's a really good play, and it's something that Tyler does so well a majority of the time. And in the continuation, I love to watch where you see the puck here now to push the puck. This is the shimmy the puck up the wall there. It's a great play there afterwards.
Yeah, I think the key there, Scotty, is if absolutely right, is he had an opportunity. You actually did a great job of angling too, really.
Yeah, no doubt, Matt. Yeah.
Yeah, keeps the stick on the ice and just skates through, and he's skating away with the puck, and you're probably already on the blue line, going the other direction on a 3-on-2.
And it's interesting you bring that up, because this group and Tyler, a big part of it, because of how well they angled and stick on puck and created turnovers, and the speed of this group did have a lot of great transition play. And unfortunately, just in that play, it was what started out as stick on puck, but the hands progressed up over the knees and up to the head area for the easy penalty call.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Okay, and then the final one I just want to cover, and this was covered and pretty clearly with the declaration, but a minor penalty shall be assessed to any player who delivers a body check to an opponent who is physically engaged for possession of the puck with one or more other players. And when that happens, that player is basically determined to be vulnerable, defenseless. And I think most of you have probably seen this example. You have two players that are battling for the puck. They're competing. That's exactly what we want along the end boards. And the big guy in blue comes in and just plows the opponent instead of making any effort to play the puck there. And that's exactly the type of thing we're looking for there. If he comes in and engages with, uses his body position and his size and strength with his stick on the ice and competing for the puck, no problem. And that's, I think, exactly what we're looking for there. But when his sole purpose is to come in and blow up the player who's already engaged, that's where we draw the line, and that's where the penalty comes into play. So I just want to emphasize it, and this is mentioned in a couple of different rules and the notes specifically, but the onus is on the player delivering the check to avoid placing a vulnerable or defenseless opponent in danger of potential injury. And that really is what we're focusing on here it's not a real big change, or it's not a change to the body checking rules. It's just an emphasis on putting stick on puck. It's an emphasis on not taking advantage of a vulnerable or defenseless opponent who doesn't have the puck, not using the arms and the elbows and the forearms to deliver body checks. And that really is adding those language or that type of language into the rule is really the only change that's taken place. It's not a significant change in terms of what's acceptable or what's unacceptable from a body checking standpoint. And finally, before we get into a few more questions here, I just want to emphasize, look, it's perfectly fine to not agree with a rule. And I tell this to officials all the time. You are certainly more than welcome to have an opinion. You may not agree with the rule, and the same thing with the coaches, but your obligation is to go with it. And it's not okay to choose not to enforce the rule just because you don't like it. And it's the same thing. The coach has an obligation to teach his players or teach her players to play within the rules, regardless of whether they agree with that particular rule or not. There are going to be some additional resources available on usahockey.com. We just posted a FAQ on usahockey.com today. There'll be some videos that'll be going up shortly. There'll be some stuff going on with social media and everything else to try to disseminate as much information as we possibly can. So that real quickly was in a nutshell some of the primary rule changes. Just want to get into a couple more questions here with our panelists. We got a couple minutes left. Scott, a lot of the early naysayers suggest that, USA Hockey's taken the physical aspect out of the game completely. What are your thoughts to that? And what are your comments to those people? Because I think, a big part of what we need to sell is the fact that USA Hockey is encouraging, physical engagement through competitive contact at all levels of play within the rules. So what are your thoughts there, and what are you going to tell those naysayers?
Yeah, I think, clearly, Matt, the discussion goes extremely strong and hard-nosed players. I mean, that's a huge emphasis, I think, for everybody within USA Hockey, and I think everybody out with coaches and parents who want players extremely strong, physical players. But that physical aspect of today's game is around the puck and winning puck battles, and that's not just stick checking. That's using your body in a way to win pucks. And I think we're seeing it at all levels of the game. The players who are continually moving up, that ability to use your body, strong, physical, hard, to win the puck. And I think all the rule emphasis, not rule changes, the rule emphasis is putting the puck and your body in a great position to compete and win pucks. And I think that's ultimately the continuation of where the game is. And we love watching players. And that just a great, to go back to that last video, which is a really, it's a good video to emphasize the engaged player. And I think, in another sport like football, usually a defenseless receiver, I think is what they call it, on a passing play. And in hockey, so much of our game is compete, and you better compete hard for pucks and win pucks. And we want to encourage players to be in that battle and competing for the puck. He or she should not have to worry about getting blindsided in that type of contact. I want to win a puck. I'm battling. And then my eyes scan to see what's the next play. It shouldn't be to scan to see somebody coming to hit without any regard for the puck or the play that's happening in front of them. So, and I think the rules are all taking us in that direction. Doug, I don't know your thoughts on that, but I think the emphasis on these rules has a lot to do with gaining puck possession and playing the game with the puck.
Yeah, I mean, you can still be a strong player, right? And you can use physical strength to your advantage, but you've got to do it in a way that makes sense to what the game is now, right? What the game used to be, being big and strong, just blowing kids up, knocking guys out of the way, was its own sort of part of the game. And a lot of coaches, myself included, used to teach, some of that. Hey, go, let's be a physically imposing team and use that to our advantage. But the game is, I think one of the things we've learned from you guys and the coaches we talk to at those higher levels is it's speed, it's speed, it's speed, it's speed, it's speed. So, use that strength to create loose pucks to win, gain control of those, use your body position, strong legs, strong back, look at Crosby, his puck protection skills and his freakishly strong legs. There's a strong physical player, but not in the sense of, blowing guys up, but in winning puck battles and keeping possession in very difficult areas along the boards. And then being able to make plays out of those areas. So it's just redirecting the talents. And for the, the players that are saying, well, the game is changing so much that I can't play. And Matt, this is kind of back to your earlier question about kids leaving the game. I would say you're missing an opportunity. This isn't your physical attributes being, thrown to the side or labeled as useless. You just have to redirect them. There's still an advantage. I mean, if I'm a big, strong kid and I go into the corner and I'm determined to win the puck, I'm going to win the puck over a kid that is not as big or as strong or as fast as me. So, the physicality still has an advantage and a place in the game. You just got to redirect it into something that makes sense to the modern game.
Yeah, hey, Doug and Matt, just to reiterate again, in no way is there any intention from USA Hockey or any of our programs to not have strong physical play in our game. I think make that very, very clear that the strength and physical play is still a big part of hockey. It's just now, as Doug said, and very well said, it's directed to the element that's really important in today's game.
Okay, thanks for those comments. Very well done, guys. And I guess, one more question. I want to direct this one at Doug, because you're very actively involved, obviously, at the youth level and the club level. Just how important is player safety to your membership? I mean, is that a topic that's important to parents or and players and coaches, and where does it fit into the number one reason as to why you can attract some kids into your club?
Yeah, I mean, it's critical. I think, these parents are turning their kids over to us as coaches and officials, during those games, and they want to know they're going to be safe. They want to be taught the right way. They want their kids to compete and have fun, but ultimately I think they want to know their kids are going to be safe. They don't want to deal with big injuries. And the most severe injuries happen, with, the major infractions, hitting a kid that's wrapped up with another player, or the whole idea of hitting just to hit, right? The kid's coming out of the neutral zone with his head down, and I'm going to make him pay for that, right? That's when kids get hurt. We get serious injuries as a result of that. So, as an organization, with USA Hockey and as a club, we have to do everything we can to make sure that the game is as safe as possible for our participants, or they'll go play another sport. You're seeing this trend. It's not just in hockey, but attempts to make both professional and amateur sports safer across the board. And there's good evidence supporting why those efforts are going on. So it's really important to us as a club to be able to deliver that message to our parents. And I think our parents overall appreciate that that's the way the game is heading.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Thanks. And I know we're approaching the top of the hour here, but I want to have a little bit of fun here with Scott, just to emphasize some things and kind of sort of support the whole premise that this really isn't a change necessarily to the body checking. So, Scott, I'm going to look. You've probably done over 1,000 skills clinics on competitive contact and body checking for both players and coaches. So I want to ask you these very simple questions, and a yes or no is will suffice. So not complicated, just yes or no. Have you ever taught a player to check someone from behind?
No.
Have you ever taught a player to hit someone in the head?
No.
Have you ever taught a player to deliver a check with their hands, arms, or elbows extended?
No.
Have you ever taught a player to deliver a check to an opponent who did not have control of the puck?
Again, no.
Have you ever coached a competitive contact drill or body checking drill where the focus did not start with stick on puck?
I can guarantee, I'm a stick on puck guy, Matty, big stick on puck. Everything has to start with stick on puck, stick in passing lanes, stick in shooting lanes. Yep.
Okay, so then it's probably pretty fair to say that considering those are the main focuses of what we're trying to accomplish here with the declaration of player safety and incorporating some of that language in the rules, is it pretty safe to say that that none of this should really be a surprise and that USA Hockey's headed in the right direction on this?
Yeah, and there's been so many good body checking clinics, and boy, the staff and Guy Goslin, one of the best we have in the country at teaching this. And it's a physical game, and the contact needs to be directed with where our game is headed. So those are, I'm glad you didn't ask me the tough questions, Matt. Those were pretty simple.
Well,
I was looking down at Doug. I was looking down at Doug to see if he was going to help me there.
I'm glad I didn't get asked those questions. Put it that way.
You didn't ask if we ever did it, or if we ever did it. It's just the teaching part of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, and again, I just wanted to emphasize there and have a little fun wrapping this up. That you know what, it's really not. It's not anything drastic. We're just trying to create an environment where kids can go out and be competitive. They can compete physically. They can physically engage and have some fun in the process, but be safe as part of that process. Okay, so real quick, I want to wrap up a couple of things here. I have to do my obligatory upcoming schedule. We're back into full swing with the Zoomcast this season. It is something that we're very excited about. However, due to some other schedule commitments and stuff like that, we're going to at least start out every 2 weeks this time around. So our next Tuesday night Zoomcast will be on Tuesday, September 28th, where I believe Scott Zelkin will be hosting and moderating a discussion on abuse and communication with coaches and players and dealing with abuse. Follow that up on October 12th with an update on our officiating education initiatives and what we're doing with our seminars and online training and those types of things. And then October 26th, we'll have some guests involved in the fitness area and just some things that amateur or grassroots officials can do to hopefully prolong their career a little bit and make things a little bit more enjoyable for them. Don't forget to follow us on social media channels, YouTube. These webcasts are all put on our YouTube channel and can be viewed on demand within a couple of days after the Zoomcast. So look for that to be up, and for those friends and colleagues that weren't able to join us tonight, be sure to steer them towards the end of this week so they can get that same information as well. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram and all the other social media channels. One other thing I just want to add real quickly before I give our panelists the floor to say a couple of final words, but I know we have a ton of questions, and I think this might be our largest audience we've ever had for one of these Zoomcasts, and very appreciative and want to thank everyone for engaging and participating. I know we have a ton of questions that are still out there that we've tried to answer. I've tackled a few of them, but I will give you my assurance that whatever we were not able to answer as part of the presentation tonight, I will come back and email you personally within the next couple of days with some of those situation questions and engage there and anything throughout the course of the season. I know Scotty as a USA Hockey employee, myself, anything that we can do or anything that we can answer for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via email and let us know so we can provide you with some accurate information and give you the resources that you need to be able to go out and contribute positively to the game and be successful on the ice as well. So again, thanks to all the participants. I want to especially thank our panelists for taking the time tonight. Any final words of wisdom for the group, Doug?
It's a tough time out there as numbers, across the country are down in terms of officials. We're seeing that in our area. So just thank you for the officials on the call for what you do to help our game. And, the the best interactions I've had with officials are the ones that, that talk to the players on the ice, that are actively involved in managing the game, not just calling penalties. But so for those of you that do that, particularly, that's a big part of the education process for, players and coaches. So thanks for doing that. And thanks for everyone for making the game possible.
Thank you very much, Doug. Scott?
Yeah, thanks, Matt, for having me here, and Doug, thanks for your comments, and everybody out there, appreciate the time. I want to just quickly, in this time with the changes, we certainly understand the emotion of the change in game, and especially with the rule changes, the icing and the immediate offsides. Those two rules, and I want to make sure, again, as we understand the emotion, the change that's taking place, but the understanding of the developmental side of where that's headed, just to get more players thinking and being aware of their surroundings and putting them in opportunities to understand game and spatial awareness, make more decisions. There's going to be a time, whether at a different level, where the icing may become legal, or the offsides will be tag up, and that'll be an easier change for them to be able to adapt to, and just putting a puck back in, than it is for somebody to repetitively in game situations be put in a position to think more and be creative and understand the game awareness and spatial awareness within our game. So we understand the emotion, and most importantly, appreciate everything that as officials and coaches and parents that you do for our game. So thanks for having me.
Okay, once again, Scott, Doug, thanks a bunch for being a part of this. It's been a very informative session, I think. I think it's going to be something that USA Hockey is going to be able to use here in the coming weeks to help better educate all of our membership in terms of what we can do. And I know that they're committed to being able to do that. So thanks again for spending the evening with us. We very much very much appreciate taking time out of your busy schedules. Wish everyone, panelists and participants, a great start to your season. And this will officially conclude episode 43 of the Officiating Tuesday Night Zoomcast. Thanks, everyone. Good night.